Hey everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. This was not a planned video, so I'm just going to be ranting off the top of my head. But I did have a completely different video planned, but since then the dev update dropped, so I figured I'd make a video on it, especially since I've been having a couple of people ask me for my opinions on it. So to start, I think overall the cons outweigh the pros, but there are some good quality of life improvements, but let me just go ahead and read through it. So first and foremost, we have the blood web improvements. So we have like the blood web chain where you're able to sit there and automatically buy anything along a node, which is really nice. They also have automatic purchase, and they also have the press to buy option. Super great across the board. I think this is awesome. I don't like spending blood points personally. I know whenever I have like 2 mil, it can take anywhere up to like 30 to 40 minutes at a time to spend it, and then also being able to spend it on both survivor and killer is very tedious. Did not like that at all. Super great. I think they could improve it by making it just a little bit faster, but that's another story for another day. I'm just happy that it's here. We also have the visual terror radius coming from DVD mobile into core. This is awesome, especially for people that are deaf or hard of hearing. They've added color blindness options for the visual heartbeat as well, which is awesome. I don't think this is going to be abused like some people have been talking about. I just think this is a great quality of life option for those that do have that issue. We also have the Auto Haven Records realm being updated just a little bit. They have Blood Lodge and Gas Haven being worked on, but we have Blood Lodge getting more consistent. That way it's not either a safe area or a complete dead zone. So they're moving like the main building towards like the middle of the map, and then making a lot of these more consistent, so it doesn't feel bad for either side. And then they're also breaking up some of the tiles as well. And this is going to reduce the potential for dead zones, like they said. I think this is pretty good because Gas Heaven was considered one of the more rougher maps to play killer on, so I'm happy with this getting worked on. I do think that we should see like the swamp getting reworked soon, because I believe that's one of the last realms to be fixed. But I am super excited that they're going back and going for balance on some of the older maps. Super good. This is where it starts getting a little bit frustrating, however. Healing, not just altruistic or personal, both altruistic and personal healing, is being made 24 seconds from 16 seconds. Now, this is a huge issue because a lot of the players are solo queue in the DVD player base, myself included, and this is a huge issue when it comes to hit and run killers, but this is also not factoring in sloppy. This is also not factoring in solo queue. This also makes it very difficult to try to reset to go for a save, and they've also rebalanced the medkits to have 24 charges, meaning you can get a maximum of 2 heals per medkit. So unless you find somebody else to heal you, this is the only way you're getting an extra heal. This means that matches with Legion are going to be literally god-awful and the like. I'm not looking forward to that. They've made it so that medkits not only have 24 charges across the board, but they increase altruistic healing. I do think medkits were an issue particularly, but I don't think that this was the way to go about it, personally. I do think something like the emergency medkit, etc., and some of the healing speeds for yourself were an issue. Those kinds of things. I just think that this is not at all going in like the right direction, and the add-ons, of course, have also been changed to line up with these nerfs, but this just means that solo queue is about to be very, very brutal, and trying to find the right coordination in between all of this, and then also trying to focus on whether or not to be efficient on gens and whatnot versus healing and then other aspects of the game. This is a lot going on at once. But moving on, we also have some perk updates. So we have Gearhead. When a survivor loses a health state, Gear activates for 30 seconds, and while active, any survivor who hits a good skill check will have the aura revealed to the killer for 6, 7, 8 seconds. Gearhead didn't get a lot of use. I'm happy to see it reworked just a little bit. I have no issues with it. Overzealous got a slight buff as well. Overzealous, whenever you would cleanse a totem or a hex totem, you would get a bonus, an even larger bonus whenever you're cleansing the hex totem particularly. But they've made it so that it also activates whenever you're blessing a totem. And they've increased the bonus from 6, 7, 8 to 8, 9, 10%. Don't have any issues with it. I haven't really seen Overzealous used since release, but this is a pretty good incentive. We also have pain res getting changed. I think scourge hooks in general were a little bit of an issue in terms of RNG, as I've mentioned in my previous videos. I feel like the RNG for scourge hook spawns is pretty terrible, and having them cycle to get more value out of them would be fantastic. And me personally, pain res was a mainstay in my builds across killers, but with this, it doesn't even feel like it's worth using. The perk starts at 4 tokens. The first time each survivor is hooked on a scourge hook, the generator with the most progress will explode and lose progress. We've also reduced the difference between tiers of the perk now, so it's 11, 13, and then 15%. Again, this is, you just might as well not use the perk. And this makes it especially hard for people that don't really like kicking gens like myself, and for people that want to play a little bit more fair. Getting 4 uses maximum out of them, and then also relying on the RNG factor it's just the perk. I don't think anybody's gonna want to use this. They've also changed Deadheart again, and initially old Deadheart was definitely an issue, but when they had nerfed Deadheart, they made it so that you could get the endurance status effect if you were to have like a 1 second window where you pressed E. But then they changed that and they halved it to 0.5 of a second. And then they've changed it again now to where it can only activate after safely unhooking a survivor. So this is like the 4th nerf that Deadheart has received, and I still think it's going to be an issue if survivors manage to pull it off. Now, alternatively, survivors might still be using Deadheart, but I do think that this is going to see a rise in Lithe and Sprint Bursts, which are a lot more damaging than Deadheart, but we'll just have to see how it works. And I definitely think that now that you have to earn Deadheart, killers can just tunnel the person out that has Deadheart. It's gotta be super simple. We also have Call of Brine and Overcharge getting nerfed as well. They've made it so that Call of Brine is reducing the additional regression speed to 115, 120, 125 from 150, 175, 200%. I think I'm fine with this. Personally, the combo with Overcharge made it crazy, but even by itself was pretty crazy. Overcharge, they've made it similar in terms of nerfs, but they've reduced the maximum regression speed to 130 from 200, and then they've also made it so that the starting regression speed is 85% from 75, and the penalty for missing the special skill check has been reduced to 234% instead of 345%. I think these are healthy changes overall. I think this was also done to mitigate the effects of having like a 3-gen, and I definitely think this was also put into place because of strong instances like Skull Merchant, for example, who could really hold a 3-gen. But next one, we have Circle of Healing. Circle of Healing no longer allows survivors to heal without a medkit. Very interesting how that's gonna work. And instead, it also provides a 40, 45, 50% healing speed bonus to healing others, so for altruistic heals. And then they also have the auras of injured survivors within the boon's range. Now, I don't think that this was necessary at all. I honestly would have just rather Circle of Healing give like 100% healing speed bonus to others instead of this. Or just have the perk deleted. I don't know. Again, this is like the 3rd or 4th nerf that Circle of Healing has received. I'm not a very big fan of Circle of Healing running it on my survivor, and I'm not particularly a big fan of it when I play killer either. And I do think that for Circle of Healing, a nice quality of life change definitely would have been making it so that when you play killer, you can kind of tell when you're in the boon's radius, because there are plenty of times when the boon goes up mid-match and I really don't notice, and maybe that's because of how loud the chase music is or like other distracting things in the environment, etc. But I just think that this was overkill, and if anything, they should have made it so that, sure, you can't heal without a medkit, but, you know, 100% healing speed bonus to others would have just been a lot better. We've also got some killer updates. So Hillbilly has been slightly nerfed again. They've nerfed his add-ons engravings, which were obviously the most popular, which I don't feel like was necessary at all, but they have made it so that the overheat mechanic is a little bit more forgiving. But I just don't think it was necessary at all. Hillbilly was already performing fine the first time they nerfed him, and again, changing the most popular add-ons just because it was completely unnecessary. Pig received a slight buff to one of her add-ons, John's medical file, so it increases the movement speed bonus when you're crouched from 6% to 10%, really awesome. Oni's add-ons, the Black and Tone on Bloody Sash, weren't performing as well as they were liking, so they've made some slight tweaks, and they will increase movement speed while absorbing by 0.4 ms and 0.7 ms respectively, up from 0.3 ms and 0.6 ms. They've made it so that Freddy, his sheep and unicorn block, increase the duration of the blindness status effect when interacting with like dreams, snares, and pallets by 30 seconds. I think these add-ons were not really popular on Freddy in the first place, and I just gotta say, like, overall the nerf that they put on Freddy was, I guess, a little unnecessary. Like, I understand, you know, Forever Freddy was very strong at first, but now it's just made Freddy kind of honestly terrible. And if anything, these add-ons themselves definitely weren't getting used, and I definitely don't see them getting used now. Same thing with Pyramid Head. They made it so that the Scarlet Egg add-on increases the Killer Instinct duration from 1.5 to 3 seconds. Again, I don't see this add-on a lot, and arguably Pyramid Head's best add-ons are range. I only ever really see range, and the only real value that you get out of it is range. I just don't see this being very beneficial. Both, you know, Freddy and Pyramid Head deserve a little bit more love, I believe, but not in this way. And then lastly, we also have Clown. His Redhead's Pinky Finger add-on has basically been nerfed a little bit, and they've reduced the maximum health bottles by 3 from 2. This is understandable because it was really strong for camping. This is just pretty mundane in my opinion. This section is also very controversial. We have the flashlights getting nerfed once again. I believe within like the span of the past year or so, flashlights have already been nerfed 2 or 3 times. And they've made it so that, like, in my opinion, you know, when they've changed flashlights, they've changed the timing. They've also changed, like, the duration window or whatever when you're getting blinds. And so now it just doesn't feel as rewarding to get a flashlight save. Anybody can get a flashlight save. Not that necessarily the timing beforehand and stuff like that was, like, super complicated, but it just felt like a more skillful thing to do, whereas now it just feels like a very, very unrewarding, very unsatisfying thing, genuinely. And they've shipped away a lot of uniqueness when it comes to using flashlights, one of the most fun items in the game for me personally. I will say though, locker saves being removed I think that was unnecessary, because there were some instances where it was literally just unavoidable until the survivors just ran out of flashlight, which would be really annoying. And sure, they went during gens, but I mean, there's nothing to come out of it. It could be annoying. But they've made it so that the Wraith, Nurse, Artist, and Hag have flashlight interactions removed from them. Starting with Wraith, the ability to burn Wraith out of his cloak has been gone. I believe this should have only been for flashbangs, because if you're in the same zip code as a flashbang, it would be god-awful. But in terms of using a flashlight to burn the Wraith out of his cloak, I feel like that was a little bit more rare, and it was a fun interaction as well. Especially whenever the Wraith is trying to, like, get ahead and, like, body block for, like, you know, getting the survivor that you're trying to protect. This would have been super awesome to have in the game, but this is gone. The Nurse could be burned while blinking, and then you could basically stun her out of it. This is being removed. I don't really know why. This was a very powerful thing. It didn't come up very often like they say, but it was very risky to pull off, and it felt rewarding, but this is going away. Same thing with Artist. You could get rid of her crows on another survivor, or the crows that she would put up by shining a flashlight on them, but these are also going away. Don't really see a reason why, but I just thought that it was a cool interaction to have. They're doing the same thing with Hag's traps, and instead making it base kit for survivors to disarm her traps with like a several second long action to clear it. We have no idea what that looks like so far, but I'm hoping that it's decent at least. And I can understand the Hag a little bit more, because if she's setting up a web and whatnot, you know, having the traps disturbed feels pretty bad. I get that, but a lot of Hags trap the hook, and so if they're proxying, you kind of just have to go ahead and do a 1-for-1 and trade. That's it. Seems a little weird, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I just think overall, the changes that they have, like from this section down here all the way to the top portion, healing, it's a lot. It really is. But they've also not addressed camping and tunneling. One of the interactions, also slugging as well, one of the interactions that's really on the rise in DBD, and you know, since the 40 perk rework, you know, in 6.1, they have made the game, of course, like you can't even argue, a little bit more killer sided, which is fine in the grand scheme of things, because I think, you know, killer needed a little bit of love. But once again, I feel like this is a little bit of a overtune. It really is. And like, sure, you know, the PTB is gonna come around and like we can adjust things and whatnot, but I feel like this is definitely a step in the wrong direction, if you ask me. But I'm also not the only person feeling the sentiment either. I've seen plenty of other people, as well as Fog Whisperers, just not really like this. And one thing in particular that really bothers me is that they've not even factored in the healing aspect when it comes to sloppy, or sloppy add-ons, which is going to be brutal, especially in solo queue. And so this aspect is going to make it extremely difficult to try to pull off a reset, and this is going to be dire in in-game. Reassurance itself only lasts 30 seconds, but 24 seconds to heal. Do you see where the issue is with that? It's going to be pretty difficult in coordinating. Unless you have empathy or bond, you won't really be able to tell where the other survivors are. So it's just kind of one of those it is what it is situations. And then with hit and run killers, sloppy, a lot of killers camp and tunnel as well. So if you want to heal under the hook because 24 seconds is a little bit of a long time, you just have to go relocate, then you have to spend the time healing, and then doing this while evading the killer. There's just a lot of aspects going on, it really is. But camping and tunneling not being addressed is one of the more concerning things overall, specifically because with it being on the rise, there's not a real way to counter it. And sure, you could say okay, we'll bring reassurance for camping. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but what about the tunneling aspect? Okay, off the record and DS, which both deactivate during in-game. God forbid you get hit within 10 seconds and your base kit BT will entirely eat up your off the record. And in addition to that, DS does not last long at all. It's literally a 2-second stun. Head on is a better stun, which actually gives you the full 3 seconds, because DS, although it says 3 seconds, that one of the seconds is literally you falling off of the killer's shoulder. So off the record, DS, and then also reassurance, but then also slugging as well. So unbreakable, I guess, even though it's one-time use. But then where are the perks for things such as your own fun? I used to goof off in a lot of my matches and I could still win them because it was actually rewarding then. But now with these kinds of changes coming into play, it makes gameplay a lot more linear, and I can see who they're trying to appeal to, which is the massive fan base. And I get it, DBD has a lot of content in it. The game has been out for a long time now, and 3 months of consistent content is a lot. It's a lot to keep up with. But they've already reduced the grind, so making the game more streamlined just doesn't feel right. It feels like a lot of DBD's uniqueness is being stripped away. And even when I do play killer, again, it's the same way. I don't expect much. It feels very mundane because on both sides, I can just kind of predict how a match is gonna go. As killer, chase survivor, down survivor, hook survivor, chase survivor, down survivor, hook survivor, same thing. I don't have to really worry about getting hit with surprise things like head on, or maybe flashbang or blast mine, or Sabo breakout squads, or no mither squads anymore, because it seems like they want to make the game more efficient based. That kind of just means no fun on either side. And a lot of other people, again, share this sentiment. A lot of the uniqueness has really fallen from DBD, and it kind of feels as if whenever I'm playing Survivor, I have to run said meta perks because goofing off is just not worth it. Even when I do goof off, it's more about being efficient. And if I'm not efficient, then gens don't get done. Nothing else gets done. That's just it. And again, I can understand wanting to make it this way so that the new player experience is just very simplified, but this is not what a lot of people knew DBD for. And a lot of newer players, don't know that these kinds of things existed once before because they just don't have enough time or enough experience in the game. It just feels like a very steady fall from grace. And although we do have the PTB to see how these changes interact, I just don't see anything good coming out of it. And I see DBD being in a little bit more of a weaker state. Of course, still receptive and still playable, but the fun aspect is gone from a lot of DBD. And that really does suck to say. They could change their mind on a lot of the dev update, but I don't think they will. They could change a lot of stuff in the PTB, but I don't think they will. It would take a lot to undo these kinds of things, but we'll just have to see. The last portion I'm going to discuss really quickly, this is about tomes. So basically, they are going to make it so that older characters such as Fang, Elodie, Adam, who do not have tomes, are considered more as minor characters. They will still be featured, but I guess just kind of left behind, which I'm not very excited about. And they said for all new original characters moving forward, you can expect a tome for them, which I feel like promotes, I guess, a little bit more of lazy writing. I don't know. It just seems like they're not really paying attention to like the actual lore aspect of DBD, which is something that I feel like people really don't appreciate enough. But we have some characters in DBD such as Elodie and Hattie that have really crucial lore to DBD that have not been explored via tomes yet, and that's something that kind of hurts to see, because this was also another one of my favorite parts of DBD, believe it or not. But either way, I'm gonna stop rambling. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to view this video. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Sound off, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.